which includes Commissioners Liz Smith and Sue Hansen. And I believe Matt and Rhiannon are from the Colorado Springs area, is that right? Yep. And then heading south, Commissioner Marcia Porter Norton and Heather Otter, and sitting where she is Commissioner Lori Lasky, staying on this panel. Join me here. All right, so I think we've heard a little bit from Commissioner Lasky about her learning journey. So I'd like to go to the Southwest region. And we're really fortunate to have such a dynamic duo here with Marcia and Heather. You, like your neighbors in San Luis Valley, have one of the smaller regions in the state. And the map's coming up here to give people visual. How have you been approaching this? And I know you've even received a federal directed grant to help your region. You're thinking really hard about the path forward. What's been your key learnings thus far?
The first thing I would say is it is a lot more work than I think any of us anticipated. Now I say that we didn't know what we didn't know, and we have been meeting for over a year. And I really like what MJ said in the last panel about it's important to bring people together to talk about things before there's money on the table, because you develop relationships, which the commissioner here talked about as well. So we have been able to do that. However, really the work that we're doing is, it pales in comparison to the individual suffering, the family strife, the community loss of what could have been for people's economic prosperity, mental behavioral health. And so we keep working, and we have just completed a feasibility study when our community leaders got together prior to the settlement fund councils being put together. They looked at what they felt like the gaps were, but all nodded their heads to say we need data to back that up as a place to start from. So we have been anxiously anticipating that, and it's just a starting point. So that is where we are at now. We have not spent any of our money yet. That is to come.
First of all, if you're here from the Southwest Opioid Response District, raise your hand. Yes, so we have a good contingency of people. Marcia Porter Norton, the Plata County Commissioner, really echo what Heather said. And I think one of our big pieces of learning is that because we're one of the smaller districts in Colorado, and in terms of funding, our money is greatly appreciated, but we realized early on that we're going to have to go big with braiding funding and bringing in additional funding. And so we initially said, we have been told for years that inpatient treatment, which is sorely lacking, people have to drive 8 hours or 4 hours to Junction or Denver to get treatment. And it's just unacceptable. And so we have been told for years, well, inpatient isn't feasible. So we started by saying, tell us why, and we got congressionally directed spending to do a study that Heather just mentioned. It still said it's not, the gap is still there to make it financially feasible, but we're not going to give up. But in the study, we learned this whole continuum that we can build out, and that's where we're really focusing now. So SWORD is going to be a part of that. But we have a very diverse region. We want to make sure all the counties feel included and heard and served. But we're really building a continuum out, and yes, listening and patience and trust building. The other thing is our county has put a building in the mix. It's a former youth detention facility, so it would need to be completely remodeled. And that has been an interesting opportunity, but it certainly isn't the only opportunity, and we did get congressionally directed spending. So I keep telling people at the county who are linear, like, this isn't linear. We're not, we don't go from step A to B to C. It's sometimes you just have to take risks and go for it.
Lori, I'm going to go to you with this question, which basically Heather and Marcia reminded me. You, like Marcia, like Heather, have worked so hard on this. Did you have any idea how much work you were signing up for, and how have you found it within yourself and within your schedule to devote the amount of time you have to this?
Well, first of all, I had no idea. No idea. Let's just be real about it. But when you see the people that we're helping and you realize that we are saving lives, when you go into public service, you know we do things at a systematic level, and that's what we look at. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I am driven more by the individual. And when I see those people, or when I have parents come to me and say, we are hoping for the future, we are excited that this is going to happen, because things for the last few years haven't. That drives me to do that. And then just seeing the support across the state, knowing that when we work with other regions and we work with other areas, we can make this happen. It really gives me hope, and it makes me feel like this funding is a spark, and this is really what we're supposed to do. And I just feel it at the core that it's important, and I actually get a little bit emotional about it, because I work with budgets, but what is the use of any of that if it's not impacting the people of my area in a better way?
So I want to go to Sue and Liz, who are obviously here in our home region. Did you guys know each other well before this process, and what have you learned along the way?
Sure. Yeah, I think we did not know each other prior to this, and I think that to echo my colleagues, it's a messy process. And you know, if you look at our region, we are made up of 6 very small, except for Montrose and Delta, but smaller counties. And so part of the challenge, even in coming up with the plan, was to acknowledge that, do we have service delivery folks that could even go to Hinsdale County, or would they go to Hinsdale County? So we had, I would say, multiple challenges. We started with a huge group, and then it kind of, sort of dwindled down. And I've talked to other groups that had the same experience, mostly because I think it was difficult to ascertain how much we actually could achieve. And so I think the conversations, we have a 2-year plan. We're really ready now to go, because we are about to contract with Mesa, United Way of Mesa County, as an RFP, as a, I guess we call it a fiscal aid, anyway, that they will handle our RFPs and reach out to the providers and do all the legwork for us. But it is difficult because the considerations are different in these smaller counties, as we keep having this rural focus, is that when you're in Denver Metro, even though some of you would say you do have a shortage of services, we really have a shortage of services. And so it makes it even that much more difficult. So.
Thanks, Sue. Yeah, I've really enjoyed getting to work with you. Just for the record, it's been really a great partnership with Montrose and everybody else in the region. And I think that, to your point, really for me, there's been a big lesson in humility. This is not linear work. It's not a linear process, and I'm a product person. I want to see the results, and so that has been very humbling, just to really work through the frustration. I really resonated, Lori, with what you said earlier about putting out an RFP, nobody responding. We did that too. We were trying to get coordinators across our region, and we couldn't do it without cannibalizing our own staff in Gunnison County. And so we had to regroup. We had to come up with a new plan, and it felt like we had just wasted some time.
We're all in therapy now.
but it's not wasted, because this is a novel pandemic. It's not a pandemic. It is an epidemic, but it is novel, and I don't think that we really have a direct map or pathway for how to get out of it. And so, progress is progress. And so I think that's been a really important lesson for me.
Yeah, and I think even to Lori, and I think a number of people have said it, if you're not willing to pivot and change, and I mean, I've already modified our 2-year plan in my head a bunch of times, and I appreciate that about this, working with the AG on this, is that we can be flexible, and instead of committing to something and then you can't move off center. So that's been a real blessing that we could work in that and pivot and change and adapt.
Well, that was an important design principle, and I remember those conversations where we didn't want to have like the state in this bureaucratic role where people have to apply with a fixed plan and they get approval to change the plan. You guys get to make and change the plans as you see fit. We know it's going to be a dynamic process. And the way it's set up is the Opioid Abatement Council will oversee the spending, and there are obviously potential not great scenarios, which is groups are not able to spend the money at all. If that happens over a period of years, that's a concern. Or the spending happens in ways that violate what the money is supposed to spend for. That also is a real concern. But we started from the premise of we trust you're going to figure this out. We're going to give you time and space to do it. So Colorado Springs, this is interesting. I'd love for you both to introduce yourself because we have people here who are more governmentally connected. You had to remind me you work for
Region 9 Economic Development.
That's right, Economic Development.
Planning District.
But I think Rhiannon and Matt, you guys are not government employees, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So talk about your background, what brought you to this work, and it's a tribute to the diversity of how this has worked, that here you are representing the regions. Matt, I know your story and you're going to talk more about it, but tell everyone what brought you to this work and how you got involved in the region.
Absolutely. So I come from the perspective as an affected parent. I lost my two sons the same night in Colorado Springs to fentanyl poisoning. They were 21 and 19, Andrew and Steven. So I've been thrust into this work, working with Blue Rising with other affected families, and then as the story kind of grew in Colorado Springs, had the opportunity to join the council as a non-voting member and to really take that side as an affected family. What do we go through when we lose a loved one? Because it's incredibly disorienting. You go through the process, you're trying to bury your kids, and you're trying to navigate the process, whether it's a legal process or just the basics of being an affected parent, just life insurance and all these different things. It's very disorienting. So that's been my passion here on the council, and it's been an amazing testament of the support that I've received, because I come in with a very different perspective, not being a government official, not being some of the other folks that sit on the council, but it's been a fantastic experience for me to be able to come from this perspective and represent a subset of our community.
And I also think your region's unique because the chair is your district attorney, right?
Right.
In El Paso County. And Michael Allen's done a great job seeing the broader big picture. He was sorry he couldn't be here, but it's really awesome you both here. Rhiannon, what brought you to this work and what's your background?
Can folks hear me okay? I'm pretty loud, but hi everyone, my name's Rhiannon Straight, and I'm actually involved in a handful of the regional councils as an external facilitator. And it's been so phenomenal to be involved in any one single region, but to be able to see how all of these very unique communities are coming together, and government officials and folks with lived experience and affected family members like Matt are really taking the time to listen to each other. And you'll hear me speak a couple times on these panels over the next few hours, and this is really the like thread that keeps me involved in all of them, and it's the incredible collaborative desire to listen and learn from one another. And I think Region 16 is a really great example of this, because it's Colorado Springs, pretty urban, very populous, as well as Teller County, which is very small, much less populous, and quite a few less resources. And listening to electeds in Teller and electeds in El Paso, and our chair, who is DA Michael Allen, and our vice chair, who is Commissioner Eric Stone, really learn from each other and the differences in the communities, and then see how that impacted the decisions that they were able to make has been fantastic.
So you're what we would call a ringer for these purposes, because you have, and the Stebbing Group has, visibility into a number of different regions. So when I ask you what you learned, I'm going to let you think across the regions. As you've seen all the work you've done, what have you seen and said, wow, that's really important, that's really impressive. Other regions should know about that.
What a question. I think first and foremost, the thing that's been most impactful for me and the thing that I think has been the most productive on these regions is the inclusion of voices with lived experience. And I know folks have said that quite a bit yesterday and today, but I can't hammer it home enough. The more we can raise up voices of people who have gone through this and know what it's like and know that, you know, we need multiple pathways to recovery and we need all of the barriers to treatment, you know, as small as possible, the better off we're gonna be and the more impactful the decisions we make are gonna be and the further our money is gonna go. And so I feel really grateful to have gotten to know the most impacted folks across all of these different regions that Stedman is involved in. And I hope that through the duration of the next 16 years that we're all running this marathon together, we can keep these voices at the center of the conversation.
So I want to go back to Sue and Liz asking the forward-looking question, because you've shared the humility of getting started, but as you look towards the excitement of the product, what can you accomplish? What is motivating you? What is exciting you about what lies ahead?
Sure. Well, you know, I think that's what these conferences are, and again, we've said it a zillion times today, is that we learn from each other. And so, you know, I think what I'm most excited about is recognizing the importance of the peer recovery piece and how we may not have incorporated that enough into our conversations. And I think we you know, I mean, just to say, we had a stumbled start, and I feel like that put us back a bit. But going forward, I'm excited because I think we have a better focus, and I've already, you know, how do we adjust our 2-year plan to be more attainable and leaner so that we can not achieve everything, but, you know, check something off the list. So I'm real excited to get our group back together. We've been Zooming, and you know, I think the in-person would make a big difference in going forward. You know, it's really hard to build a relationship with a square, and so you know, I would look forward to, you know, getting together again. And I sat at the the folks at dinner. There was a table of people with lived experience, and they looked like they were having a lot more fun than the rest of us. And I'm just thinking that maybe we have not included them as much as we should. So.
Opportunities to get us all together, especially as we work forward in the grant review process. And I just wanted to make a comment on what I'm excited about. I mean, there was amazing trust that is being placed into our regions and local governments with the way that this settlement is structured. And it is kind of scary. I am also excited about the great responsibility of it. And we are at a point where we're really starting to get the process of money out the door. And so I'm just going to put that fine point out there. We are going to get money into the hands of providers and people in our community that can make a difference and save lives. And for me to see us get to that point is very exciting, even though I'm really a little terrified about the work that we have ahead and making those decisions and making sure that, you know, we're serving our whole region, which is very diverse and is a huge patchwork of different providers to cover the services that we need, and we need to build some of it out. But to take that first step and really start getting those funds out is very exciting to me.
Matt, what are you excited about?
I'm excited to get those RFPs out, get some people to respond. And one of the things I think in our region, and I'm grateful for Michael Allen, D.A. Allen, when I was able to share my story about my boys and what I was going through and represent the other affected families that we work with here in Colorado, was really the creation of a family survivor advocate. So when you're a victim of a violent crime, you get a court-appointed advocate. Well, for us parents, we don't have that. And so to navigate that process, the council agreed that this would be a great spend of our money to help folks like myself and all those throughout Colorado who have lost loved ones to this terrible epidemic. So it's been fantastic to see that, work on that work group with Michael Allen directly, and be able to come up with funds to help us to navigate that, everything from the beginning to the end, to maybe create a checklist. And this just has happened, and how do you navigate that? And that's just been it's going to be a great support for the rest of our affected families in Colorado.
None of us can even begin to comprehend what you've been through. It is so amazing. You've taken your personal family's tragedy and turned it into a purposeful journey helping others. I want to say, and I know the folks in our Colorado, whatever that long is called, Opioid Crisis Recovery Advisory Committee. There's not even a good acronym for it, but anyway, we've been talking about this idea of how we support families, so we want to learn from you on that. Heather, Marcia, what are you guys excited about?
I think what I'm excited about is, I used to be a professional facilitator, and there's a saying about go slow to go fast. And so we haven't spent money yet, but again, our study, I think, was let's be methodical. We have 17 jurisdictions, 2 sovereign nations in the Ute Mountain Ute and Southern Ute Indian tribes, and then 5 counties. And so we're very politically, geographically, economically, socially diverse. And we needed this time, starting in 2021, to build that trust, build the communication. So what I'm excited about is now to move to implementation in a way that meets the interests of all of those entities and people. We are looking at working with the Colorado Agency for Recovering Housing. I don't know if Butch Lewis is here, but he's been tremendously helpful to us. It looks like we're going to get 2 recovery homes in Southwest Colorado, and so where those go are important. Another thing we want to do is we do have this building, and we have congressionally directed spending. We'll be submitting an infrastructure grant to do some kind of stepped up service that would serve the whole region, and then transportation, and then medically assisted treatment, and then anything else, that comes forward from our study. But I think it's time to get it done. We've been talking, and we've been learning, and we've been educating, and it's time to get it done. And I'm really excited. We have Zoom screens of, I don't know, and Heather's this amazing facilitator, I have to say. We have like 3 Zoom screens, and I kept thinking, when is it going to be down to 1? When are people not going to log into this call? And every time it gets to be more people. And that is a sign of success in and of itself. This is such a huge need. In my county, we lost 22 people to substance abuse death last year. And so you're right, that's what keeps us going. Why do we log in? Why do we go to those committee meetings? Why are we writing grants? Why are we cobbling together money for coordinators? It's because of saving lives. So I'm excited to start seeing services on the ground.
Lori, go ahead, Heather first, then Lori.
I'm really excited because there's no longer an excuse not to act. I think that we are at the beginning, but these settlement funds and the leadership from the AG's office and the team have set a great foundation for us. The governance part that the part that's not the exciting part necessarily, but that you need to get groups started and to have bylaws and all of those things that, again, aren't the fun thing to think about, but those were put in place for us so that we could get to work. I think that our region is interesting because he wasn't joking, the AG wasn't joking when he talked about the sheer number of regions in Colorado and just the numbers for them. And I'm involved with this because of another region, which is the Economic Development Planning region. We're Region 9. And we had already worked with our local governments and our organizations across all 5 counties on regional projects. Housing, transportation, broadband, tackling big topics. And economic development touches everybody's life in a community from the time they're born to the time they pass. It's now really challenging to find somebody in any community that SUD doesn't impact. And so it just made sense for us to lock arms and continue working together on these regional projects and these issues.
Well, thank you for doing it. I'm going to pivot to Lori, and then I'll go back to Rhiannon for the final thing, which is what are the concerns or what are the challenges that you're seeing ahead that people should be aware of?
So did you want me to talk about what I'm excited about?
Sure, do both.
It's very practical. I'm excited about the funding. I just got to tell you, I am so grateful to the Attorney General and that office going out on behalf of everybody in this room, every Coloradoan, and getting us more money. As a government person, I have never, ever had a state agency call me and say, guess what? Your allocation is more. And on top of that, substantially more. And that's not work that we could have done at a regional level. But I think we need to give a big hand to AG Weiser and that group to continue. So now what I see is the biggest challenge, and it's this buzzword that I absolutely hate, but it's a reality, and that's capacity. As I realize, sometimes I feel like it's a whack-a-mole. We work on this, and then fentanyl, where'd that come from? And then xylene, and there is so much need out there. And finding that capacity between workforce and facilities and that to do it, that's difficult. Like I said, we know we need to do this, but how do we overcome that? How do we get people that want to take on this tough work and want to do it? So I guess that's what I figure the challenge is. I wished I had a magical wand and could tell you what the answer is. But I know some of the greatest people out there, like everybody in this room and all of the regions and every council, that's something we're working on throughout. So hopefully we can do it. If anybody knows how I can get more people involved in this, how I can get people into our jails to provide more of these services, how I can get more clinicians that are amazing, like some of the ones you heard from today, please let me know, because we want them to come to our area. And the other thing I'm excited about is the collaboration between the regions. As I was hearing my colleague talk about, our residential treatment center was actually a child's detention center too. And so maybe these are things that there's more similarities than there are differences, so let's focus on that.
Your Honor, give me the final word. As you're looking ahead, challenges that people should be thinking about and that you're maybe a little concerned about.
Yeah, so I think above all, I'm worried about the marathon that we have ahead of us. And right now, I'm really grateful to be in this room with all of you great folks who have all of this stoke and are very impassioned and engaged and involved in this process. But electeds turn over and people burn out, and you know, we've got a long road ahead. And so I think the biggest concern that I see is keeping us all engaged and involved, and perhaps this is a plea for ongoing passion from all of you. We're not gonna do this year. We're not gonna do it next year. It's gonna be the culmination of a lot of hard work and a lot of passing the torch. And so I hope you all are open and willing to lean in while you're here and hand it off to folks that you trust when you're burnt out and it's time to step aside, because we've got a long road ahead, and I think we could really accomplish a lot, but it's not going to be just one of us. It's going to take all of us working together, and so I hope we can keep that rolling.
It's a great note. Two follow-ups. One is we're so fortunate to have a great partner in the state in Michelle Barnes, who I know you just heard from. Really appreciate Michelle. Give a round of applause. Really, I have to say, it's been great working with Michelle and her team. They've been incredibly collaborative, very solutions-oriented. We have a lot of important work ahead. And then to keep you engaged, I want to give you a short break. I'm going to increase it to 7 minutes and say we'll come back at 11 o'clock to start with our next panel. Thank you all for a great conversation.